Hey, welcome to part one of my message for this week. This message is part 4 in a 5-part series that I call In the Field, where we look at Haggai 2, verse 19. This week, we are looking at pomegranates, and that is one of the 4 things that Haggai 2, verse 19 says will be born to you in the field in your life. So we're looking at pomegranates and what they are and what they can tell us. So I hope you guys enjoy the message for today. I call this part 1, Spiritual Seeds, and we'll be looking at Song of Solomon, or if your Bible is like mine, then Song of Songs, but they are the same thing. So Song of Songs, or Song of Solomon 4, verse 3. I hope you guys enjoy, and I will see you back for part 2. Bye. Hey, so if you guys could just flip over to Haggai 2, verse 19, I'm going to read that real quick before we hop into today's message. So Haggai 2, verse 19 says, "Is there yet any seed left in the barn? Until now the vine and the fig tree, the pomegranate and the olive tree have not borne fruit. From this day on I will bless you." So if you guys could go ahead and flip to Song of Solomon or Song of Songs, depending on what Bible you have. Chapter 4, verse 3. While you guys are getting there, I'm going to explain a little bit of the context behind pomegranates. So pomegranates were fruit that were very highly esteemed by Israelites. And usually they were characteristic of the Palestinians. And so the Hebrew word for pomegranate, which is Raman, it means to rise up, and that's what it means. So the pomegranates, we'll see throughout the message today how it calls us to rise up and what it means to rise up, in fact. So I just want you guys to keep that in mind as we go through today. So Song of Solomon 4, verse 3. Now, before we get into Song of Solomon, let me explain a little bit of Song of Solomon. If you guys have not read this book in the Bible, I would definitely recommend reading it, but don't read it too fast. You have to take in everything that is happening. This is a very interesting book, to say the least. This is really Solomon's prophetic love book to another woman. So it's very interesting, and I would definitely encourage you guys to check it out. But it might be some unchurchy stuff in there that you're not used to, but it's in the Bible, okay? So read it and take for it what you want. But I'm going to read Song of Solomon, chapter 4, verse 3. And that says, "Your lips are like a scarlet ribbon. Your mouth is lovely. Your temples behind your veil are like halves of a pomegranate." So I really want to focus on that second part, of course, because we're talking about pomegranates. So I'm going to read the second half of that verse again. "Your temples behind your veil are like the halves of a pomegranate." So you might be thinking to yourself, why in the world would Solomon tell his fiancée, right? She's behind the veil, which means that she's about to get married. Like, women who are about to get married have the veil over their face, and they look all pretty. And in fact, I have 2 friends who are getting married. Well, I know a few people who are getting married, which is kind of weird to think that it could be coming so soon in my future. But 2 of my friends are getting married on January 1st, and I'm very excited to go to that. So a little off track. But speaking of veils, so behind the veil, he's telling his wife that her temples, her head, her mind, are like the halves of a pomegranate. So I don't know if you guys have ever had pomegranate before. If you haven't, I would definitely recommend that you do. I love myself some good pomegranate. It is nice stuff. But if you've ever seen a pomegranate, and if not, this video is online. You can pop open a new tab and Google it. But look up a half of a pomegranate, or like pomegranate halves. And at first you might think, well, why would he compare the mind of his fiance to pomegranates? That's a little bit weird. But when you see the picture of the pomegranate cut in half, it starts to make a little bit more sense. So when you cut a pomegranate in half, a pomegranate, really the only fruit that there is, because you don't eat the outside of the pomegranate, you don't eat anything around the outer coating, you just eat the pomegranate seeds. So when you cut open the pomegranate, it has hundreds and hundreds of seeds that are inside of it. So when you look at it, when it's cut in half, all you see are the seeds. So he's not saying literally that this girl has a whole lot of seeds on her temple. He's saying that her mind is fruitful with the seeds. So we need to look at this from a more spiritual or metaphoric standpoint. So he's saying that your mind just bears seed. Because that's one of the things that we need to do as Christians. We need to be aiming to sow seed on others and sow seeds in the minds of others. So if your mind is full of seed, then you'll be able to give that seed away. And he's saying not only is your outer person beautiful, but your mind is loving, your mind is caring, your mind is it's fruitful. He's saying, I learn a lot from being around you. You make me think about stuff. You make me question things that I haven't questioned before. You point things out to me that I've never seen before. And that's one of the things that pomegranates do, is it's one of the most fruit. It has the potential to bear some of the biggest amounts of fruit that you could ever ask from a pomegranate, or from any other fruit in general. Its potential, because of the amount of seeds that it has, is so great, so that if it's taken care of correctly, you can go and sow all of these seeds and make new fruit out of the seed that's in your mind. So when we read Song of Solomon chapter 4, verse 3, I want you to really look at the seed that's in this girl's mind. He's not saying that literally her temples look like pomegranates, because that'd be a little bit nasty. I don't want to marry a girl whose temples look like pomegranate seeds. That's just, that's nasty. But he's saying her mind. She has a mind for God. She has a mind for love. She has a mind for good things. And that is one of the most important things that we can do. So we look to pomegranates, surprisingly enough, to tell us that. Now, pomegranates are only really in the Old Testament. You don't see them in the New Testament that much. So all of my scriptures are going to come out of the Old Testament today. So I'm sorry about that if you don't like the Old Testament. I think it has a whole lot of stuff to tell us. Genesis is one of my favorite books in the Bible, period. Like, you can learn so much from reading Genesis. But anyway, that's besides the point. So we just have to look at the mind and how we need to try to have a mind that bears fruit